Tell us, how did you discover Bitcoin and how has it changed your life?
Yeah, well, that's a lot could be said in that question. So thanks for having me on, Lauren Stanley. Yeah, like it says in my bio, in 2017, I was active duty in the Marine Corps, and that was the year of the bull market. So I first started getting interested in the question of what is money and why does this piece of paper in our pocket have any value? It's kind of a phenomenal thing if you think about it, right? Because it's just a piece of paper. So I started reading about monetary history. I got really interested into investing in gold and silver. And then I discovered Bitcoin, and I thought to myself, this is it's pretty amazing. You have a form of money which can be sent anywhere on Earth. Gold can't do that, and a form of money which can't be censored um, by any central organization, and that's not the case with gold either. And so I thought there was a lot of power in that. The idea that the internet itself has a native currency made a lot of sense to me at the time. And you have people like Jack Dorsey said the same thing. I think it was 4 years ago. He said, he was on Joe Rogan's podcast. He said a lot of people have been trying to invent the native currency of the internet, and that's Bitcoin. And so the whole thing really just captivated me when I was in the Marine Corps. And a lot of people that I was in the military with at the time also bought Bitcoin, which is pretty funny. Um, and then, you had that big bull market where I think in that cycle, Bitcoin went from $500 to almost $20,000. And I had no idea what was going on at the time. I mean, that was a pretty crazy experience. And I remember I was actually on a training exercise when Bitcoin hit, was it 19,000 that year? And so we weren't allowed to use our phones or have any internet access whatsoever. So I just came back from that training exercise, and then I got a text from my brother saying, "Holy shit, look at the price of Bitcoin." And then I looked at it like, wow, my gosh, I missed all that. Because it was just in a span of like 2 weeks, that whole episode. And so um anyways, that's kind of my background in Bitcoin. I don't know where you want to go from here, but that's how it all kind of started.
Okay, that was amazing. All right. And then talk to us a little bit then about, you're saying that a lot of your military buddies as well were buying Bitcoin. Did they understand it? How did they get involved in it? Like, yeah, was it just from
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of people in the military want to invest their money, and so I don't think any of us really understood it a whole lot at the time. But it's just something. It was just a good investment, and that's the interesting thing about Bitcoin is most people who invest in Bitcoin, I would argue, don't really know its entire value proposition. They haven't read tons of books like we have about, they haven't read Mises or Hayek or anybody like that. They haven't read what Austrian economists think about monetary policy. It's just a good investment, and that's fine, and that's what draws people into it because it's the strongest form of money we have, and the first and primary thing a form of money should be is an instrument of savings. And
Mhm.
so Bitcoin is simply the best instrument of savings which we have today. You could call it an investment, but really a medium to save is a lot safer than an investment. Today, everybody invests. You have your aunt trading stocks on her iPhone because our money is continually worth less. And when you live in a world where your money is continually worth less, then you have to find a place to put it, or else you're going to lose everything you worked for, right? So that's why so many people are trading these stupid meme coins and buying stocks that are way overvalued. And that's why you have real estate. For example, where I'm from in California, the average price of a home is over $1 million, right? Because that's a safe place to put your money. And you have to put your money somewhere. Otherwise, you're going to lose everything you worked for. So,
Yeah, yeah. And to me, like the words that I use, like Bitcoin to me is a savings technology. and it's the best savings technology out there, that has been gifted to humans. Just more humans need to, and more people need to just learn about it and take the time to learn about it and understand it. And probably not listen to Bob in the pub, for 5 minutes that knows nothing about Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, it's, I don't blame people for being a naysayer at first either. I mean, I personally wasn't, I never, most people, they hear about Bitcoin and then they don't do anything, and years go by and then they finally buy it. They say, okay, this is actually pretty interesting now. But I bought the thing like right when I first heard about it because it just kind of made sense to me. But I don't blame people for being a naysayer because it's a pretty big deal. You have this, first of all, it's been an unimaginably good investment since its inception. Like the idea that 10 years ago you could throw $100 in this thing and then now you could retire off of it. That I can understand why somebody would think that is a bubble. I completely understand that. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. And then see, a lot of people are looking at it as well, and they think that, oh yeah, you're gonna be, it's a get rich quick strategy, like you're gonna become a millionaire in 6 months. But as we know, yeah, that's not the case. It takes time and learning as well, and how to hodl it.
Exactly. I mean, that's a funny thing about it is, I've experienced two bull cycles now, and every time, like people you've been telling about Bitcoin, like your friends, your family, just because it's interesting to you, it's an interesting technology, right? Um, they don't care a whole lot about it. And then when the every media article is talking about it, when it's all over TV, when everybody's buying it, when you hop in a taxi car, your taxi guy's talking about it, you're in a bull market, right? The price is going up so much. Then they want to buy it, and they want to get rich quick. And who doesn't want to get rich quick, right? So I get it. But and then the price crashes, and they think they're just totally screwed and they don't buy anymore. But that's one thing about Bitcoin is historically with every 4 years after the halving, we have a bull market because the amount of Bitcoin that is newly released, mined into the world gets cut in half every 4 years. So historically speaking, about 18 months after that, you have an increase in price because, lower supply, higher demand, price is going to go up. But that 4 years can be a long time, and so you hold something for 4 years, and 3 of those 4 years are not going to be you getting rich. They might even be you losing some money, like this last cycle when what was the last top? It was 68,000, I believe,
Yeah,
right?
69.
And so yeah, 68 or 69,000. So and then it crashed all the way to 15,000. And so that's pretty rough for a lot of people. I mean, not most people don't want to have to still not sell something that goes from $69,000 to $15,000. But if you're not trying to get rich quick, if you're trying to just plan for your future and you understand, okay, this is an important form of technology, which many notable people have invested in now. We have publicly traded companies buying it. We have tons of notable billionaires and CEOs of huge corporations we all know of who own it. If you think about the long term and you were buying that whole time, you were buying when it hit 15,000 instead of getting afraid and not touching it, then you'd be doing pretty well now. And we don't even know what we're in right now. Maybe we're in a bull market. I mean, Bitcoin just passed an all-time high. We hit, what was it, 72,000, and that was before the halving. So anyways, Bitcoin kind of forces you to think long term. And if you just want to get rich quick, that's not how this works.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like for me, a few years ago, I'd be thinking maybe 2 or 3 years out. I've had investment properties, real estate, For those, I know they took about 25 to 30 years. So when I came into Bitcoin and I really started, when I copped on really what this was, now I missed it a good few times and I just didn't take the time to do my work. I started really buying it at 52,000. And at that stage, I was saying, okay, I need to get to one whole coin. And it was going up and up and up. And I kept on accumulating. And then something miraculous happened. It started going down the other way. But because I'd done my homework and I understood what it was, I seen this as a perfect opportunity now, to really go all in and offload a load of other stuff that I had and converted them
Yeah.
into physical, into a
Yep.
digital asset.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Most people don't do that, obviously. What's that Rothschild to invest when there's blood in the street, right?
Yeah, and there's blood
So
on the street, yeah, and I could see the blood on the street, yeah. And I got it down as low as 15,500, so it was amazing
nice.
for me.
Nice.
Anyway,
I'm curious if I could ask you a question, Lauren Stanley. So as real estate investor, one thing a lot of real estate investors say is, well, Bitcoin doesn't generate a cash flow and my real estate does. So what's your response
well,
to
my
that?
answer to that, I'm on a different type of strategy now. What most people don't realize, and I was in the same category, poor people are taught to earn income. Rich people and wealthy people are taught to generate wealth generation. So I'm in the wealth generation now. And in the end of the day, our property was going up 8 to 10% per year. Once I discovered about money and what is money, I realized, sure, I'm drowning at that pace because the money was being devalued by between 7 and 10%. But in 2020, they increased that up to 20%. Monetary devaluation, or the cost of money is like what some people like to call it. So everything that I was taught previously was actually wrong. And it was just used to keep me in the system to keep on earning income. And when you earn income, you're paying tax on it. But now what we're doing is we're generating wealth, and our wealth is just going up and up and up, and I can see it growing so fast, so quickly. And you don't pay tax when you're growing your wealth this way. Now you do when you cash out, but like that's going to be 10 years. I have a 10-year plan now, and now I'm even
Yeah.
thinking about 100 years. That's the way I'm thinking now for my children and my grandchildren and my great grandchildren. This is going to create generational wealth for my family coming, and I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
It takes
Yeah,
a bit of
I
time
agree.
for people to understand all this and learn all this.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah. Uh, so tell us a little bit about your work in Jan 3. How's that going? And how that's going with, I know you're there. So you talk to me about Jan 3 a little bit, yeah?
Yeah, sure. So Jan3.com is the website. There's really no other company doing what we're doing. So Jan3 focuses on nation state education and outreach on Bitcoin policy. And so our CEO, excuse me, I got a call. Our CEO has talked with several presidents of Latin American countries, most notably President Bukele of El Salvador. And even if you're not a Bitcoiner, maybe you've heard that El Salvador has just completely changed for the better over the last few years. I believe it was 4 months ago, our CEO, his name is Samson Mao, also met with the president of Suriname and the president of Colombia in the same week. Also met with the central bank of Suriname as well. And so we're constantly having these conversations. There are other folks in politics that we've had meetings with too that I'm not at liberty to say who they are, but these conversations are happening and it's very interesting. I think a simple way to look at it is, imagine if America, which is really the tech capital of the world, so much software comes out of America. Imagine if America just, had taxes that were too high on software or technology in the late 90s or early 2000s. Or if they basically imagine if America, made it prohibitively expensive to operate a technology business, you would just have those technology businesses operate outside of America, and we wouldn't be as prosperous. And so it's in a country's incentive to compete against other countries to have the best policies for innovation. And innovation is always going to happen. It's just human nature. We just naturally build things. And so that's the same case with Bitcoin. You look at El Salvador, their tourism is up like, I think 70% in the last few years. Their bond just got their bond was recently put from I think it was a C plus to a B rated bond. Prime has gone significantly down. Not all of this is because of Bitcoin, but just having a forward-thinking government that embraces Bitcoin is a really big deal. And you know, El Salvador even bought Bitcoin with the part of the country's national treasury. And in the media after that, because Bitcoin went down after that, the media was saying El Salvador is underwater and their millennial president with a backwards hat, he just bought Bitcoin and he's just crazy, right? But now the country is doing really well. So this is the future we're moving into. And if you don't embrace Bitcoin as a nation, another nation will, and they're going to benefit from it. They're going to be able to create more local jobs. They're going to be able to have more revenue from taxes from businesses. They have a lot of advantages. So you have to just embrace new technology, and governments are no different. And so, but I think the American government is definitely embracing Bitcoin in many ways too. So
Yeah. I think, to be honest, a lot of governments will have to embrace Bitcoin for their future and probably for them to survive properly. Because as we know, this fiat system is just out of control at the moment, and it's in a big spiral, isn't it? Yeah. There's a huge debt spiral coming, and we know the money's broken. We found something better. These governments and these finance people better start waking up to what's going on here with the fiat system. They're all still in denial. They think they can just keep on printing and printing and making money out of thin air, but they're devaluing the currency, and the people are suffering, and it's just going on and on. And like, you're in America, I'm in Europe. It's not so bad for us, but we felt it in the last couple of years, because in Europe, the currency has been devalued by about 50% since 2020. And now we're really starting to feel it. But if you're in other countries like Argentina, you probably know a little bit more about that. How much are they devaluing? I know Milei came in there recently, and everybody was thinking there was going to be a lot of hope, and he was going to do all different types of things. But I don't know, he's going slower than what we can think.
yeah, I think they currently have an 8% month-over-month inflation rate. I believe I read that yesterday, which, that's still 96% per year. So, but that's good compared to the other years they've had, obviously. Yeah. Yeah, it's a very short-sighted thing to do for a nation state to just increase the money supply and spend it on programs that you wouldn't be able to tax people for. Because if you have a program that you want to fund and your people don't want to fund it, and you try and tax them, you're going to have a problem on your hands. So inflation, it's as we say, it's a hidden tax. But obviously that doesn't help anybody, and it only hurts the poor. It hurts the poor people the most, because the poor people don't own assets. They don't own rental properties that will go up in value as the money supply goes up, or fine art or anything like that. Poor people generally don't have assets, and so they're harmed the most. They have to work harder and harder and harder every year just to maintain the same quality of life, and the rich people can oftentimes benefit from inflation. You look at somebody, let's say you're in Los Angeles in 1971, and you buy a bunch of property and you hang on to it. 50 years later, you're going to be worth gazillions. You're going to be very wealthy. So inflation benefits the wealthy in many ways. So yeah, I mean, this is a
Even
very unequal system we have.
even homing in on that point a little bit, it's not even poor people, it's the middle class. You know what I mean? The people that are working that it hits really, really hard. Because I remember years ago when my parents bought their first house, yeah, it cost like 21,000 pounds, punts, yeah, Irish punts. When I bought my first property, it cost me 51,000. Yeah. That same property now is worth about 400,000. It's madness. It's the same house, same building, same brick and mortar, but it's just mad. It's just gone out of control, totally out of control. This
Yeah.
money
And it's
printing.
hard. Yeah, you're right. I agree. It's hard for the middle class to plan for their future. It's hard for a young person making, working hard. Maybe you have two jobs even and you still can't buy a home. So yeah, I totally agree. It's a problem that needs to be solved for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And as normal people, even for myself, my parents always told me, work hard, work hard. But hey, that doesn't get you anywhere. And we've been conditioned to pretend or to get this mindset of keep on working, working, working. Yeah, make more and more income, get taxed more and more. You get nowhere doing that. Yeah, you have to buy assets. You have to buy assets. And before the type of assets that we could buy was, say, brick and mortar assets, property. But the way I say to people that I know, you can't buy a brick in a house every day, but you can buy Satoshis every week. But you can't buy a brick in a house every week to have that full house. But now you can buy Satoshis every week or every month. And then you can then hopefully someday have a full coin. Yeah, become a full coin.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the great thing about Bitcoin is you can buy you can buy a fraction of a Bitcoin. It's not like you have to buy one whole Bitcoin. So it's a very fair way for people in low and middle class to consistently save in something. Definitely agree.
Yeah, yeah. And what would you say to people that are thinking about trading this compared to learning the savings strategy?
Well, so that's what a lot of people want to do is they want to buy Bitcoin when it's low and sell it when it's high. But uh, I would say this to anybody who wants to trade. You're probably not as smart as you think you are because we have multi-billion-dollar financial institutions which pay professional traders every single year to dump on people like you in the retail markets. And it's probably not going to work out. I don't know one person. I've been around a lot of finance people. Maybe I know one person out of all the people I've met in finance who actually made it a career in day trading. And so and let's think about 8 years ago. If you were to try and trade Bitcoin, let's say you buy Bitcoin when it's a few $100, and then let's say Bitcoin's $300 when you buy it, for example, and then you sell Bitcoin when Bitcoin reaches $600. You just 2x your money. Congratulations. But if you just held that for another 5 years, you would have 20x your investment. And so Bitcoin is really not meant to be traded. It's not like uh some kind of thing where you can look at a chart and you can you're gonna make much better money if you just save it. I mean, that's what you and I were saying. It's a savings technology. So I find it so funny. You see these tweets of people from 10 years ago and they say the same thing. I bought Bitcoin at $5 and I sold it at $20 and it's been
I'm an
such a
idiot.
great,
I'm an idiot. I shouldn't have done it because I can never catch
yeah,
back up again.
yeah, you'd be a billionaire right now, literally. So yeah, don't
Yeah,
trade.
yeah. And the data actually shows that like over 95% of people that trade lose over time. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's a lot
it's
of
probably even
sense.
higher than that. Probably even higher than that. So I don't think I could be in that 5%. And like people sitting at home think they can trade this stuff and they're going up against the big trading houses. We have no chance.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Yeah, and you look at guys like Michael Saylor, CEO of MicroStrategy. I mean, he'll say the same thing. I love seeing these tweets. You never know when it's going to happen, but every few months he'll post a tweet. MicroStrategy just bought 4,000 Bitcoin at an average price of X, whatever the price is. And this guy, I mean, he's a billionaire, owns a huge publicly traded company, and just publicly says that he does not care. He really doesn't care about what the price of Bitcoin even is when he buys it, because he is so convicted in the long-term value of Bitcoin. And so one analogy I really like that he uses is he compares it to Apple stock several years ago, or Facebook stock when Facebook first came out. You don't want to trade something like that. I mean, yeah, you'd probably make some money if you traded it, but if you just saved it, you'd be doing so much better. So same thing with Bitcoin.
Yeah, definitely. But as we know, it's a mindset shift as well. You know, it's not about getting in there for that quick buck and make a 2x or a 3x or whatever. You know, you have to change your whole mindset, yeah, about this and look at it as a long-term strategy, really. Yeah.
You
Um,
do. You have to ignore what the media says often, largely. I mean, I'm looking at some articles right now. What's that I forget that website, but there's Bitcoin obituaries. Have you ever been on that website?
I've heard about it, yeah. I've seen it
Yeah,
around.
so they have a historical log of every time there's been a news article saying that Bitcoin is going to die or Bitcoin's a bubble. And some of these are just hilarious. Like on Reuters, I'm looking at one from December of 2014. They say Bitcoin's defects will hasten its demise in 2015. And the price then was $327. You know, what's it? Oh, this one's one of my favorite too. This is January
Share your screen
20.
there if you want.
Okay, yeah, I'll share my screen. Let me see. Oh yeah, there we go. Share screen. Yeah, so this is a good one. Bitcoin is an amazing example of a bubble. Nobel Prize winning economist Robert Shiller says he's blown away by how much fascination Bitcoin has engendered because as a currency, it is a return to the dark ages in 2014. So what was it? $797 then. Whatever. Yeah, Davos talks up the future of blockchain tech, but says Bitcoin will go to zero. That was in 2019. Bitcoin was 3,500.
Jesus, in 2019. Mad.
Yeah, Morgan Stanley says the true price of Bitcoin might be zero. That was 2017.
It's only
It's
going
just hilarious.
it's only going one way over time. And that's the whole thing. It needs time. And even last year, people I was talking to people and they were saying, oh, when's it gonna go to 100 grand or when it's gonna go, back up to 60. I said, listen, I don't want it to go up that fast. I want time. I need more time to accumulate more. Yeah. But a lot of people you talk to, they want it to start moving quickly and
Yeah.
fast. But they don't
Right.
realize it moves quickly and that faster. They're gonna be out of the race.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say I don't think you're ever going to be too late to it, because the way I think about it is it's like saying you're going to be too late to using the internet or using the car. It's a legitimate technology with a long-standing utility. But in the process of it right now, you look at the internet when the internet first started becoming popular. If you invested in internet companies at the time, you would make a lot more profit than versus investing in an internet company right now. So there is something to be said about the timing with it. I just saw this too. It's funny because that article where Morgan Stanley said the true price of Bitcoin might be zero. I guess the former CEO of Morgan Stanley, his name is John Mack. He currently owns Bitcoin. So that's pretty funny.
Mm. Oh, they all will. They'll all be getting into it. Yeah. Because all they need to do is hold it for a little bit of time and they see the returns on it and they're gonna start switching then. That's what they're going to do.
Yeah. Yep. That's right. So
They'll go in with a small allocation, 1, 2, 5%. You know, should we even seen what some of these big asset management firms were saying? Last year they were saying, oh, maybe you should put in 1% or up to 3%. And then BlackRock turns around and spun that all on its head and says, okay, maybe we should have like a 70 or 80% allocation now, because this is the future. So it's only starting. Yeah, it's only starting.
yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about ETFs and what you think about like ETFs and how they're moving and the volume that they've been buying. Yeah, the institutions, what they've been buying recently since January 10th.
Yeah, well, the fact that you have more Bitcoin being bought than that's being mined per day, I mean that alone says a lot, obviously. The fact that you have the world's largest asset manager file for an ETF after years and years and years of other companies trying to file for an ETF and getting denied, and then the ETF gets approved, that says something. Um, and the reality from a purist standpoint, I think a huge advantage of Bitcoin is that if your bank goes under, if your financial institution goes under, if you hold your own private keys, you still have your hard-earned wealth. You look at especially people in Lebanon. I remember seeing these videos from last year, like desperate people physically breaking into their bank because they could not access their own money. And so I can't imagine that. That's devastating. And so Bitcoin really does fix that. If you hold your own private keys, you have self-custody of Bitcoin. The ETF does not offer that. You have to trust a financial institution with the Bitcoin and trust that they won't do anything nefarious with it, like say that they're holding it and then just not hold as much as they're saying. Have a fractional reserve system. So, but obviously it's overall good for Bitcoin, and the unfortunate reality is that most people don't want to take several hours to learn how to properly self-custody, to learn how to download a wallet and use a wallet and all that. Most people don't want to do that. And it's scary for a lot of people too, to have 100% full responsibility of your own money. So with great power comes great responsibility. A lot of people don't want to be completely only them accountable for making sure they don't lose their money. They feel comfortable trusting institutions in the Western world, generally speaking. And so I don't blame them, and I understand. But yeah, I think it's an amazing thing that's happened with Bitcoin. And then also the fact that Bitcoin was the first and so far the only cryptocurrency to be put in an ETF is also very telling, with the difference of Bitcoin and the rest of all these other shitcoins, I'll call them. So you have the SEC who said that Jerry Gensler, chairman of the SEC, who said that Bitcoin is the only cryptocurrency that he feels comfortable labeling as a commodity. So pretty much implying that everything else is an unregistered security. You have some rumors going around that Ethereum will have an ETF approval. I would be very surprised if that actually happened, personally, because Ethereum is, I mean, it is, in my opinion, it's pretty clear that it is an unregistered security. If you just go by the Howey test, it's pretty clear.
But there's a whole load of things coming, and I know at the moment as we speak, I think there's issues in America in Congress as well, isn't it? I think the administration was trying to put a block on all these new cryptos, all cryptos and Bitcoin and everything. But I think they're getting a bit of resistance as well, because I think a lot of politicians and a lot of high net worth people have Bitcoin, and they want to protect themselves as well. And they understand that they might say it publicly that the dollar is being devalued and how much it is being devalued, but I think they understand it, and they've got teams of people behind them that know exactly what's going on. So there is big talks going on at the moment as well. Yeah, about it.
Yeah.
And even going back, we were talking a little bit there about taxes and stuff like that, governments tend to put the pressure on the people and increase taxes, yeah, in their countries and cause more hurt than they actually do good in the end of the day. Yeah. There's something going on in Canada at the moment, is there? Are they saying that they want to increase the capital gains up to 60, over 60%? Did you hear something like that the last couple of
I didn't
weeks?
do that. That's insane if that's actually going to happen.
Yeah. Mental.
60% is insane. They're going to drive all the wealthy people out of their country.
That's what's going to happen.
Oh,
Of course, I
yeah.
was on a Zoom yesterday with somebody in from Canada, and he says people are getting ready to move. Like a lot of people I know just work online. They don't need to be locked down in the country. Yeah, they can go
Yep.
to South America. They can go wherever they want, and it's going to be much better for them. So all the smart people, all the high net worth people will just go.
Yeah,
It's going to happen.
exactly. It is. And it's a shame you look at a country like Canada and you have such a rich history and you had such a great culture and yeah, it's a shame that people life gets so hard in an area like that where people literally just leave their own homelands. That is not what should be happening. So I
Keeping
don't know
them
what the
there,
heck they're
keeping
thinking
them
if they're
there,
doing
getting them to
a
create
thing.
businesses, getting them to start thinking outside the box, be more innovative, and create more wealth in your own country instead of trying to tax them and drive them out. Because wealthy people can just leave, but
Yep.
middle class and other people like that, you know what I mean? Or Bitcoiners can just leave as well, you know?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
we need those type of people in those in our countries instead of driving them out and getting people that are coming in and dependent on the states to look after them.
Yeah, exactly. I totally, I mean, that's what happens when you have a form of money that's can be globally sent and all you have to do to take it with you is just have 12 words either memorized or written down somewhere. I mean, that's pretty powerful. It's not like you can't do that with anything else, really. You can't do that with physical assets. You can't do that with money in your bank account. That's a pretty big deal. So you better, create incentives to maintain the wealthy people who own Bitcoin to be in your jurisdiction still.
Yeah,
And you
yeah,
see that happening right now with countries like El Salvador, I mean, if you're if you're a wealthy Bitcoiner, El Salvador probably looks pretty enticing to you. So if you're in Canada, let's say. So
yeah,
you're seeing this play out. I mean, this is just game theory at a global level. So Bitcoin really is very conducive to that.
yeah. And talk to us a little about Bitcoin and property rights. Yeah, a lot of people have normally put their hard-earned uh, money into property. Yeah, and so let's talk it like I think when property investors realize what Bitcoin is and how they can liquidate a certain fraction of their Bitcoin, like imagine having a couple of properties. How do you liquidate a bedroom and take a chunk out of it? You can't do that. If you have gold, yeah, you can't cut a piece off your gold and go and trade it in or try and exchange it for something, a little piece of it. Talk to us a little bit about property rights and why when people that have gold
Yeah,
and property start doing their homework on this, they're going to really
yeah,
be a huge benefit.
yeah. I'm not even really opposed to investing in real estate. I think real estate's has been a really good investment. Rental properties having passive income. I mean, there's no such thing as passive income because you have to maintain it, but you get the point. I mean, having a check come in every month from rental properties is a good idea. I don't blame people for doing that, but the way I see it is Bitcoin is kind of an insurance policy in a way. Um, you never know, what's going to happen 100 years from now or 200 years ago, from now, right? I mean, and things can get bad. And if they're one thing I'll say, Bitcoin is great money for refugees. Previously, before Bitcoin was created, If your country became you had to escape, right? I mean, you had to just flee your country. Like Venezuela, for example. This is a really good example. I have a friend of mine, drink some water. I have a friend of mine who's from Venezuela, and Venezuela used to be a great country to live in.
Yeah, it was in the
Uh,
top wealthiest countries, top 10 wealthiest countries. And I think it took 20 years. That's all the thing to really get demolished.
yep,
They're not gone from the
exactly.
top 10 down
Yeah,
to the worst.
yeah, one of the highest crime rates in the world, and yeah, my buddy was telling me he just had a newborn baby during that the height of the hyperinflation and so much crime. And he said, one day I was going into the pharmacy to buy some diapers for my baby, and this guy robbed the pharmacy and pointed a gun at me. And at that point, he said, I was done. I was no longer this not a safe country to live in, not a safe country to raise my family in. And he owned Bitcoin. And he tells me to this day, the only reason I could get out of Venezuela and take my family to a better place is because I own Bitcoin. Because if I had that money in a bank account, it would have been evaporated because of hyperinflation or because of the bank just not letting you take the money outside of the country. There's nothing else. He can't take his home with him. He can't take his gold with him. He can't take anything. I mean, Bitcoin is money for refugees. And so, yeah, just to tie it back, I mean, it's a good insurance policy, hope for the best, plan for the worst kind of thing.
There's a video, okay, that came out only this week or last week that I caught, and I'm not going to cut it into this, right? You can see this couple, right? A couple coming into Turkey, right? And they get stopped by the security, and it's all on camera, right? They had a load of gold with them, gold bars, yeah? And I don't know what these people were thinking. They think they could just walk through the metal detectors and everything with all this gold, but they got nicked with it all. You know what I mean? So I don't know, they were probably just mules or people carrying it in. But
Mm.
I don't know what type of mentality someone would think they could just walk through an airport with 10 or 20 piece of gold bars, solid gold bars, because you could see them. Because the guys that stopped them had cameras. And I don't know how the video came out, but uh, unbelievable. But if you had
Yeah,
Bitcoin, you can just have the passwords in your head and you can go. That's it.
exactly. Exactly.
So,
Yep.
so a lot of people that are in countries, and I believe things are going to change very, very quickly in the next couple of years. Yeah, we've seen what's happened in Europe now. Yeah, with Ukraine and the Middle East. There's a lot of problems coming. So people need
Yeah,
to.
there are. There are.
And you can't
I
bring your
think a
house,
lot.
you can't bring your investment properties with you when planes start dropping things out of the sky. They're gone. No insurance for an act of war. If you have
Exactly.
gold, what are you going to do? You can't walk out of the country with it. Can't get on a plane with it. What are you going to do?
Yep. Exactly. Most people don't think about this until,
It
most people
happens.
don't make
You would
actions
think.
until things get really bad. So yeah, but I totally agree.
Yeah. So, Andrew, talk to us a little bit about Aqua Wallet. What's all that about? Yeah. And actually, before we go on to that, right, how does Jan Tree actually help people? So what do they do? Do they help families and high net worth people to start buying Bitcoin?
Yeah, so well, we'll talk about Aqua. So Jan3 is the company that helped launch that launched Aqua. And so Aqua is a very, very easy to use Bitcoin wallet and Bitcoin and stablecoin wallet. So when you open up Aqua, have you used Aqua?
I have it on my phone, but I haven't used it yet because I think you can only buy through a card. Is it?
Uh,
Through a card. Can
uh,
you transfer money to it? Can you?
right
See,
now you can only
transfer.
buy through a card, but
Okay.
we're working on that. But right now, just purely as a wallet, you open the wallet and you have savings account and then you have spending accounts. So savings account, that's in Bitcoiner speak, that's on-chain Bitcoin. And spending accounts, that's Tether, and that's what we call layer 2 Bitcoin. So liquid and lightning. So you can transact with people over the lightning network, you can transact over the liquid network. You know, you look at other Lightning wallets, and let's say you want to have a non-custodial Lightning wallet, where you have to manage all your own channels. That's really complicated for the average person. The average person doesn't want to do that to send and receive Bitcoin. And it's also can be expensive. I mean, to open up a Lightning channel right now, it can be up to $12. And so just to start transacting. So that's a big advantage of Aqua is you can start transacting with the Liquid networks and Lightning network for free. You don't have to pay anything up front. So that's a big advantage of it. And we have Tether on there too, because you know Tether, I think their profits last year was $4 billion. Tether is a very big deal in Latin America. It's a very easy way for Latin Americans who are dealing with hyperinflation in their own national currencies to hold dollars. People want dollars, you know. I mean, obviously the dollar is a fiat currency, and historically speaking, all fiat currencies will lose their value. But the dollar is a lot more stable for a lot of people in this world than their national currency. And I mean, you have black markets for dollars in Latin America. People there, you have guys standing on the corner of the street in some countries with big bags of dollars. You sell them to people. And so we see Tether as a very very important aspect of spreading Bitcoin adoption. And if you have a Bitcoin wallet that has Tether on it, we think this is a very good way to get people's foot in the door to eventually learning about Bitcoin. And so we launched January 3rd, 2024, so just a few months ago, and now we have over 25,000 users. The feedback has generally been very good. We have a very strong support base, people who really enjoy the wallet. So yeah, that's Aqua.
Yeah, very good, very good. So it's only starting, you know, but it'll grow. You've got a good team there behind you. You've got some good people behind you. Yeah. And so explain to me a little bit about the difference between liquid and lightning.
Yeah, well, so I would say right now Lightning is more popular. I mean, what they both are is you know, they're a second layer of Bitcoin, which makes it easier to spend. It's quicker to send, quicker to receive. It's cheaper compared to on-chain Bitcoin. And what Liquid is it is some people call it a side chain, some people call it a layer two. For simplicity, I'll just call it a layer two. But it is a token where the value of one liquid Bitcoin is equivalent to the value of one Bitcoin. So it's not this kind of thing where you have an ulterior motive and you want to pump this altcoin. It's not like some kind of altcoin because it's got the same price as Bitcoin. It moves alongside Bitcoin. It's just quicker and cheaper. So Bitcoin has on-chain Bitcoin has 10-minute block times. Liquid has 1-minute block times and 2 minutes for finality. How much is the average on-chain transaction right now? Let's look it up. Let's look up the mempool. Have you checked on-chain prices lately?
No, I haven't checked it. No, I know they did go up a lot, considerably. I haven't been moving on chain. I've just been accumulating because I know they did go up, so I didn't want to pay the huge fees to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, a few months ago, or I'm sorry, I think it was about a month ago, they were fees got up over $100. Right now, fees are really low, actually, 14 sats, 17 sats per byte. So about $1.50, $2 for high priority. Anyways, to send liquid Bitcoin for one transaction, it costs like, you know, a few cents. So it's so much cheaper to use. Other advantages with Liquid is you have what's called confidential transactions. So with Bitcoin, the entire blockchain is publicly visible. And, you know, for a nefarious actor, that could be a problem, right? But with Liquid Bitcoin, you can't see so if I were to send you a transaction, you can't see what I'm sending you. I could send you Liquid Bitcoin. I could send you tether on the Liquid network. I could send you an asset that is issued on the Liquid network. And from the public blockchain, you wouldn't be able to see what I'm sending you. And you also wouldn't be able to see the amount that I'm sending you. So it's a lot more private than on-chain Bitcoin. And, privacy is security, of course. So, yeah, what else? I mean, it's the way it works.
Is it not KYC, is it? Or is it KYC? Because I think when I downloaded it, I didn't have to put any details in or anything like that.
Yeah, you don't have to put in KYC for Aqua. If you want to buy Bitcoin from Aqua, from our partner that we put it in there in the integration, you have to do KYC, of course. But to just save in Bitcoin on Aqua to send and receive, you don't have to do KYC.
Okay, and then with Liquid as well, what's can you send like tens of thousands in one go in a transaction? Or is there a limit on it?
Oh yeah,
Liquid. Okay.
no limit.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. Right, brilliant. Right. And it's much faster to move and it gets there. It settles a lot quicker as well. So
Yeah,
yeah. It's like lightning,
exactly.
basically. Just another version of lightning, really, isn't it? Something. If people know what lightning is, they should try Aqua as well. Or they should try Liquid.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely differences. Like with Lightning, I mean, you have hash time lock contracts, and it the way it works is entirely different.
Right, okay.
But the way you use it is pretty much the same thing. I mean,
Right,
it's
okay.
Bitcoin to somebody, it's super quick and it's really cheap. So
Yeah. So
at the end of the day,
the user
the thing is,
experience
most people are not.
is good, basically. The user experience and the front end of it. Like, yeah. You don't have to get into the whole back end of figuring it all out. That like
Yeah,
a
and
people
most
that
people are
come
not
to
able to
Bitcoin
do
think they
that.
need to figure out the whole blockchain and everything before they understand what this is. Yeah. And I think that's what keeps a lot of people away from this as well. They try to figure out the technology and the things, you know. I'm not I'm mad at the technology. I just know that it works. It's 15 years old. It survived the test of time. It ain't going anywhere. The institutions are in now, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I have no idea how my microwave works or how my refrigerator works. I don't know who invented them. I have no idea, but they work and they might make my life better. So that's one thing I tell people, is, most people, there's no reason for them to try and learn about how Bitcoin works or anything like that. Most people don't want to do that, and I don't blame them. The thing just works. So yeah, and that's our goal with Aqua, is just to make it as easy as possible for people to use, and it, hopefully we'll onboard the next billion people, normal everyday people, not weirdo tech enthusiasts like us and everybody else on Bitcoin Twitter, running nodes and things like this. It's good to run a node. I think you should, but most people aren't like this. So
Yeah. Amazing.
no.
Amazing. So where next in your journey? How's your journey going? And what about Aqua's journey? Is Aqua all over the world now? Or I know it's in Europe here.
Yeah, so we have I believe off the top of my head, our biggest markets are the United States, some European countries, Canada. That's in the Western world. And then in Latin America, our biggest markets are Argentina, Mexico, Brazil, and I believe Colombia.
All
Yeah,
right.
so we're getting kind of a nice blend of Latin American usage, which is really where we believe there's a lot of potential, and then Western usage as well. And there's a lot of money that flows between those two worlds too. And
Mm-hmm.
so it currently flows in the legacy finance system. It flows with Western Union, or money transmitters. And so our goal is to help people transition into Bitcoin world by using Aqua, and remittances is a huge part of that.
Yeah, huge. And the fees that those companies charge as well, and the time that it takes, yeah, and the process and the loads of headaches that can happen with all those traditional transaction ways, yeah, that have been
Right.
there for the last, don't know what, 50 odd years or so, that haven't changed at all. Yeah. Legacy transmission ways. Yeah, things are changing. We're going into a digital world, aren't we? People need to move with the times. I know a lot of people don't want to move with the times. A lot of people still believe that in 10 or 20 years we'll still have cash or whatever. Well, let's talk to us a little bit about CBDCs and what's coming and how people
Yeah,
can
well,
protect themselves.
yeah, it's not good, obviously. So yeah, it seems like the European Union is going to implement something like this a lot quicker than America will. I'm not even convinced that America will implement a CBDC. I think the CBDC is diametrically opposed to American ideals, and it's funny too. Last year, Neil Kashkari, who's the president of the Federal Reserve branch of Minneapolis, I believe it is. He publicly said, I don't see why America would implement a CBDC. I see why China would do it
Mhm.
because, that's something China would do is implement a form of money that tracks every cent you spend and can be shut off like this if the Chinese government doesn't like what you're spending your money on. But he said, I don't see why America would implement something like this. So I think in America, at least, we have a long ways to go. Jerome Powell, chairman of the Federal Reserve, also said that he doesn't think we're going to see a CBDC. He said, "Don't hold your breath, on seeing a CBDC anytime soon." Um, so, but most countries around the world are leading initiatives to implement a CBDC, and that would not be good at all. Because if maybe you live under a tyrannical government and they can just shut you off of the financial system like that with a CBDC. Um, what else? There's this guy, Augustin Carstens, who I forget.
From the Bank of International, the BIS, Augustine.
Yes, yeah, he was what was he, the president of the Bank of International Settlement, something like that. But he's originally from Mexico. And there's this famous quote of him saying, with 1,000 peso bill or $100 bill, we don't know where people are spending their money on. But with a CBDC, we can track every single cent that somebody is spending money on. So you see this like big banker guy saying something like that, and it seems pretty dystopian, right? Um, so it's certainly not a world I want to head into. So yeah, we'll see. For better or for worse, the reality is we are moving into a digital world. I think that's not a good thing in many ways. I mean, I looked at the world we had 50 years ago, and a lot of things seemed a lot better in many ways. But this is reality. We are moving into a digital world. So
Yeah. We sure are. We are moving that way. Yeah. And things are coming, things are going to be changing. I can see anyway. I know a lot of people might think that we're OTT, but when you have all the data and you can see what's going on with like to yourself, and I can see we need to just really get ready and protect ourselves, and even the change that's coming, even like in Jeff Booth's book, he said that I think something like from 2025 to 2035, we're probably going to see 100 years of change once they release all this AI, machine learning, and robotics and everything. That's a huge amount of change. Like, imagine what has been created and discovered in the last 100 years, from electricity uh, to to oil to the motor car to the steam engine, all these things. Imagine all new stuff that's going to be created in 10 years, like 100 years.
yeah, it's insane. It is absolutely, and it's going to affect the way we live our lives 100%. I mean, even with the internet, like the idea of being able to just leave where you're from and work on a computer anywhere you want in the world, it was like inconceivable 30 years ago. Just changes how human beings interact with each other so much. Technology does.
Yeah. And look, like you're in one part of you're in one continent, I'm in a different continent, where we're talking over Zoom, you know. So many businesses changed so quickly and so fast. So things are coming, things are changing. Yeah. So to wrap it up a little bit, yeah, how should people be protecting themselves from what is coming? I like to ask people that are interviewed that, what should they be doing? What should they be learning about?
Yeah, well, so obviously, I'm gonna say buy Bitcoin. It's not financial advice, but it's historically been a good investment, and there are a lot of very notable institutions and successful investors who now own it. So that's one. And then on a different note, I think it's a good idea to get outside of the digital world too, build a network of people you trust and people you care about, and have a good relationship with your family. And you don't know what the future is going to bring. And if there's a hard time, having people around you that value you and you value them, that's pretty important, right? So I guess that would be my second recommendation.
Very good. Very good. And Andrew, if people want to get in contact with you, or you want to get in contact with you on Jan 3 to talk to you or anything like that, how would they do that?
Yeah, so you can just go on jan3.com, and if you happen to have any connections with anybody in government, we have a lot of people reach out to us who happen to have connections with folks in government, and so that's where a lot of the conversations happen, is just by Bitcoiners who know somebody, and they help us out. So we really appreciate that. I think we're doing something honorable here, which will make the world a better place. That's the goal. So yeah, jan3.com, you can reach out, and then find me on Twitter, Andrew_J_Howard. That's me.
Amazing. Very good. Very good. All right then. So thanks for your time, Andrew. And we will talk to you soon, yeah?
Very nice to meet you and talk to you, Lauren Stanley. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers. Cheers.